This is the Keto Edge Summit Q&A session with me, part two. And so we did a part one yesterday. So if you're on my Facebook page, obviously you can check that out. Or I actually posted that also on my YouTube. So if you're on my YouTube, obviously you can check that out as well. And today I'm just going to continue with the process. We've gotten so many questions throughout the Keto Edge Summit. So I want to continue the process of answering these questions. And I've got a guest with me as well, as you can see. This is little baby Joyful. And so this is kind of her debut right here. And Mama is upstairs in our bedroom taking a bath right now. So she just nursed, and baby Joyful, she's actually tired and just resting. And so anyways, she's going to be helping me out here and hanging out with Daddy while we do this little video. So basically the point of this Facebook Live here is to answer your questions. And I am going to be going over three main things that I saw that I haven't covered in detail. And so I'm going to go over those first, and then I'm going to work on answering a lot of your questions. And so let's see who is out there and who's on with us. We've got Carrie. She says, Joyful, what a beautiful name. I know, that's, I always loved the name Joy, and Angel came up with Joyful, and I was like, that's beautiful. I love that. And that's really what we want Joyful to give to the world is joy. And so, and to bring kind of a joyful spirit with her everywhere she goes. So Donna says she's so sweet. Guys, thanks so much for being on. We got Karen. She says, congratulations. So Joyful, this is her 5th day alive. So born on Monday. Today's Friday. Sherry says, precious. Donna says, beautiful name. We got Wendy. She says, hello, Seattle here. I have a question. Great, Wendy. We're going to get to the questions here in just a minute. So basically, the first main thing I wanted to go over was I've had a lot of people asking me if I have fatty liver, non-alcoholic fatty liver, or even alcoholic hepatitis, can I do a ketogenic diet? Is that bad for the liver? And I can understand why people would be concerned about that. Hopefully my volume's coming in well there with you guys. So I can understand why people are concerned about that, because the liver is where your body takes triglycerides and converts them into ketones. So if the liver isn't working well, are you going to be able to produce ketones? That's the question. Okay. And the answer is yes, a ketogenic diet would be actually very helpful for somebody with fatty liver disease. And the reason why is that basically fatty liver disease is an issue with insulin resistance. And so there's typically an issue associated with it with insulin resistance, and elevated blood sugar and elevated insulin is going to promote more of this sort of fatty liver. And so we want to reduce that. We want to keep insulin under control. We want to reduce it. And a ketogenic diet obviously is one of the best ways, along with fasting, to do that. Now, if somebody does have fatty liver, what I will recommend, kind of like with the gallbladder issues, is smaller meals. Less fat in the meal can be really helpful, and lots of hydration. Got to get that liver, got to get the drainage pathways really, really moving. Also doing things like dandelion, milk thistle, ginger, a lot of herbs like that can be great. I said on the Keto Edge Q&A, Keto Edge Summit Q&A part 1, I talked about the acronym bitter is good for your liver. So bitter herbs, cilantro, parsley, artichoke, these things, dandelion, all really, really good for liver health. And so we want to make sure we're consuming those. Milk thistle, obviously another one that's really good. Also possibly some glutathione boosting agents. I know we have a product called Thyro Liver Protect, selenium, and acetylcysteine. We've got alpha lipoic acid, which is really good for the liver, really good for people with fatty liver disease, and milk thistle in there. And so that's a great product to use. If that is you that's out there dealing with that, that would be a fantastic product to use. Drinking dandelion tea every day, I think, would be really helpful. So I would definitely be doing those things. So hopefully that addresses that. Keto for fatty liver disease. Oh, and one other thing would definitely be supplementing, taking like lipase enzymes. Like we've got the Keto Biome and the Keto Digest products, which are specific for ketogenic diets, and then also the BioGest that we have with some extra ox bile in it can be really helpful for somebody with fatty liver disease as well. And possibly even considering doing some exogenous ketones and prolonging a fast would be helpful as well, where you're getting those ketones into the system and improving the body's ability to utilize the ketones as a fuel source. So that can be really helpful. Oh, she's making her little appearance here. You okay, sweetheart? There we go. Okay, so keto for menopause. I'm going to answer your questions. I've got 3 big things I want to go over, and this may answer some of your questions. Keto for fatty liver, keto for menopause. So keto for menopause, basically, if you're going through menopause, some women are concerned about doing keto, if you're going through menopause or if you're already in menopause. And so the big thing there, we had a great discussion on that with Dr. Anna Kabeka. And I actually have a great surprise for you guys. We're actually doing an encore weekend this weekend. So you'll have access to all the interviews Saturday and Sunday. It's like 48 hours. So you'll have access to all of those interviews this coming weekend. And Dr. Anna Kabeka gives a great presentation on keto for menopause. So definitely check that one out if you're concerned about this. And I know a lot of people are. So by the way, my team, my research team and myself, we're working on articles for these topics: keto for fatty liver, keto for menopause, and then the third one, keto for diabetes. We're actually working on articles on those. So we'll address those in a lot more detail, go over the research with you guys. But the short answer is definitely can be very, very helpful, okay, for women that are in menopause. It's actually easier for women that are in menopause to follow a ketogenic diet typically than it would be for females that are still cycling, still menstruating. And really the reason for that is because when they're menstruating certain periods of time, like when they're going through the growth stage of their cycle, they need more estrogen, and estrogen gets stimulated by insulin, so they might need a little bit more insulin during those periods of time. Whereas women that are in menopause, typically what you're going to want to do is somewhat similar. You can definitely do a cyclical ketogenic diet, but usually what happens is just following the ketogenic diet itself is going to reduce inflammation in the body and help the endocrine organs to function better. So I see a lot of really good results with women that are going through menopause doing keto. Now, for some of them, they may need some extra thyroid support. Usually when they struggle, it's because they came into it with a low functioning thyroid. And so they may need some extra thyroid support. We've got a good supplement called Thyroid Strong that's really good. Some women are doing good with things like pharmaceuticals like Synthroid. Some are doing good with bioidenticals like Armor Thyroid or Nature Thyroid. So you want to find the one that's going to work best for you. I like the glandular, bovine glandular with iodine, selenium, and some other compounds in there. And that we have that. It's called a Thyroid Strong, which can be really helpful. And then also a lot of women in menopause, also because they're older at this stage, their livers aren't working well. So doing the things like we just talked about to help support the liver is also going to be really, really helpful for this whole process. So it definitely can be done. Dr. Anna Kabeka talks about her keto alkaline approach, which is get alkaline first by eating lots of dark green leafy vegetables, things like avocados, olives, lots of water with lemon, all these strategies I talk about all the time. Those bitter herbs, which are really, really alkaline. So dandelion, parsley, cruciferous vegetables, artichoke, these things are all very alkaline for the body. So they're just, they're so good for the system. Yeah, they're so good for the body. And that really helps prepare your liver and your body for ketosis. Okay, last one here, and then I'm going to get to your questions. Keto for diabetes. And so a lot of people are concerned about, can I do keto if I'm type 1 or, for a lot of people, if I'm type 2 diabetes? And I would say, number one is for type 2 diabetes, for sure, ketogenic diet, in my opinion, is the best approach to actually not only help you manage diabetes, but really to help you overcome it, reverse it, and get off your medications over a period of time. Not immediately, but over a period of time. Okay. With type 1, you definitely need to be careful. There's no real cure for type 1 diabetes because basically the pancreas is not able to produce insulin. So you need to make sure that you are watching your blood sugar and taking insulin appropriately. But following a ketogenic diet approach can be really helpful. Okay, there's a big difference between ketosis, nutritional ketosis, and ketoacidosis. So when we're in nutritional ketosis, our typical ketone reading is going to be somewhere around 1.0 to maybe up to 5, but typically it's not going to get much more over 3 unless we're fasting. It's usually going to be in that 1 to 3 range. Whereas with ketoacidosis, it's going to be 20 or higher. So it's like very significantly higher. And people with ketoacidosis, their blood sugar is actually typically 200, 300, 400 because they are not producing insulin. They can't get the sugar out of the bloodstream. And then their body starts kicking in, producing all these ketones, but they're not able to use the ketones either. And so they end up with this metabolic deficiency where they're not able to use sugar or ketones for energy. And obviously it's a really serious state. And so that's the issue there. So basically with diabetes, it's typically the best approach to follow would be to follow the ketogenic approach. And so that's what I recommend. In type 1s, again, you just have to manage your blood sugar at your insulin levels. Always good to work with a health coach, especially if you do have like a serious health complication or a serious diagnosis. Even more important to work with a health coach. If you guys don't have a ketogenic health coach, I do have some great ones on my team. You can check out our coaching page. I've got Michael. He was featured in the summit. He's awesome. Michael is my lead researcher and writer. I'll get him on for a future Facebook Live with us. I've got Danielle, who's master's degree in nutrition. She is excellent, so she can help. And then also Melissa as well, who's a certified health coach. She was also in the Keto Edge Summit. So I've got 3 great coaches. If you are looking for coaching on how to follow a ketogenic diet and lifestyle and get the results. So if you do have a condition, it's always advisable to do that along with whoever your prescribing physician is who's working with your medications. So just kind of a disclaimer there and giving you guys that advice. All right, so now let's take a look at the questions that we're getting here. Let's see who is on. Okay, so Lisa, thanks for being on. She says, how do you figure your protein? I know we need to limit, but on the days when I eat a little more, I lose. So she's losing weight when she eats a little bit more. Typically, that's a great question, Lisa. It really has a lot to do with your activity level. Typically on a ketogenic diet, let's say, for somebody with cancer, it's going to be different than somebody who's looking to lose weight. So if you're looking to lose weight, usually a good goal is going to be somewhere between 0.8 to 1.2 grams per kilogram of body weight. So for me, I weigh 160 pounds, which is roughly 73 kilograms of body weight. So you take your body weight divided by 2.2, you find your kilograms of body weight. So if I want 1 gram of protein per kilogram body weight, and that's about 73 grams of protein a day. For me, I'm eating 1 to 2 meals a day. In my 2 meals, it's very easy for me to get, usually I'm doing about 80 grams, sometimes up to 100 if I'm had a really tough workout day. Because really, if you're working out intensely, you can go up to about 1.6 grams per kilogram, in that 1.4 to 1.6 range. Okay, which for me is about 100. So on those days, I'm roughly getting about 100. On non-workout days, I'm probably more in the 50 to 60 range in that one meal that I'm consuming. And, sure, that's a lot for one meal. But what happens is when you're fasting, your body actually gets really, really efficient with the fuel that you do give it. And I always feel great. I recover from my workouts well. I maintain my lean body mass. So I may not always get that full 1.0. Sometimes I get a little bit more. And it's kind of a protein cycling approach. And I'm a big fan of that. But as far as, especially if you're sedentary, trying to be in that like 0.8. If you're sedentary, you're not exercising regularly, I'd look in that 0.8 range per kilogram of body weight, and that would be good. And if you're noticing you feel better with just a little bit more protein and you're losing weight and you just feel better, okay, then that may be your body may do better with a little bit more protein. So you want to also listen to what your body is telling you as well. So thank you. Great question there. Okay, Terry's on. What a good dad. Thank you, Terry. Let's see who else is on. A lot of people are saying congratulations. Hey, look at that. We've got my wife on, must be looking at her phone from the bathtub because she was soaking in there. So thank you, sweetheart. We have got, let's see, Maria, what about keto while breastfeeding? I feel like I need some carbs. Yes. I don't recommend doing a ketogenic diet while breastfeeding or while pregnant. Okay, and the reason why is that a ketogenic diet is somewhat like it's like a fasting mimicking diet. It's telling the body we're in a period of famine. Insulin is going down. We're in a period of famine. For many women, they're going to underproduce milk. Now, if you're already an overproducing woman, so if you're a woman who produces more breast milk than you really need to feed your children, then it's probably not that big a deal. You probably can do a ketogenic diet, feel good, and produce enough milk. But if you're just producing enough or you're underproducing, I wouldn't risk it. Instead, I would just do a lower carb healing diet, anti-inflammatory diet, and kind of cycle in some carbs with healthy sources like berries, sweet potatoes, beets, carrots, things like that. So you're still getting carbs, okay, roughly maybe 30% of your calories from carbs, 30 to 40% from protein, and 40 to 50% from fat. That's a better ratio when you are pregnant or nursing. That's pretty much what my wife does, okay? So that would be good advice for you there. Okay, Lisa asked another question. What about women who had a hysterectomy but still have ovaries? Will weight loss be harder? You want to take her? My wife's coming in. Okay, here you go. You want to wave to them? All right, so here you go. All right, you did a great job, Joyful. Thanks for joining me for this. All right, so let's get to Lisa's question here. What about women who had a hysterectomy but still have ovaries? Will weight loss be harder? It certainly can be. Obviously, it's going to affect hormones. I know a lot of women who have had a hysterectomy that can follow a ketogenic diet, no problem. In fact, they feel better with it. Okay, other women struggle with it. So there's typically other underlying factors, such as factors that may have caused you to want to get the hysterectomy to begin with. Maybe you had fibroids, right? Different issues like that, which can be related to, a lot of things. Gut infections can be one of the major things, toxicity. So a lot of times that will need to be addressed. But I would definitely, again, listen to Dr. Annika Becca's interview on Keto for Menopause. So this weekend again is the free viewing. It's the Encore Summit. You'll have 48-hour access to all the different interviews. So if you haven't, I will post a link. You guys will get a chance to listen into that. And I think that will be really helpful. So we want to support the liver because the liver actually helps deactivate bad estrogens, turn them into good estrogens. And the body actually has more estrogen producing cells than just the ovaries. In fact, the adrenal glands can produce it as well. It's a sex hormone. So as long as all our systems are working well, we can actually do well without, we can still function well without a uterus. So we want to clean up everything else. Now, will weight loss be harder? Yeah, it can be. But again, I would really, really be focusing in on trying to get that insulin resistance down. I also have a great article that really goes into more detail about if you're having trouble with weight loss, specific hacks that will help you. And I would definitely recommend if you're struggling losing weight, to get your thyroid tested, and in particular, get an in-depth thyroid test. In fact, I put an article up on how to test the thyroid correctly. So if you're on my Facebook page, scroll down and see that, or you can find it on my website. It's like how to test a thyroid. And of course, our complete thyroid panel goes over really all the key findings, including your fasting insulin, that are necessary to understand what could be blocking your weight loss goals. Okay, let's see. Another good question. We've got Carrie here, who asks a great question. For those of us who fast on a regular basis, how important is it to keep calories up? Some days it's hard to get in 1,000 calories, some days higher. It's okay for the metabolism overall. Carrie, actually, if you're fasting regularly and you are consuming your meal, right, but you're feeling very, very satiated when you do consume it, it's hard to get more calories in, but you feel good in general, then you're giving your body the nutrient value that it needs. Okay, so obviously, we talk a lot about in a ketogenic approach, getting enough calories in, but you also have to listen to your body. You got to listen to the messages your body's telling you. And I think, that's more important than like general guidelines, like you need this amount of calories. It's just listening to your body and developing that intelligence for, the mastery in a sense. And I talked about that on the last Q&A, was developing this level of mastery over your own body. So I would highly recommend that. just listening and seeing how you feel as you go through this. And for some days you may feel like you need more calories and then you consume more. And this is what I do. And other days I feel like I need less and I consume less. And that's a really great place to be when you're able to listen into your body like that. Okay, let's see. Nelson says, thanks for the health tips and advice. You are so welcome. Wendy says, he lost, I guess she's talking about her husband, 45 pounds. I guess it was a lot of inflammation, but has leveled off. Still needs to lose weight. Not sure why he leveled off now. Any idea? He works out. He's 69 years old. If that is a factor, diabetic and sleep apnea. Well, a couple things that can really, block weight loss. So it's number one, awesome to lose 45 pounds. It's going to really help him with all his conditions. But you should be monitoring his blood sugar and really throughout the day and how he responds after meals. And over time on a ketogenic approach, he's going to put the diabetes into remission if it's type 2 diabetes. Obviously type 1, he's not going to, but type 2, he will. Now with sleep apnea, typically as he's losing weight, that's going to really improve. But also there's something called mouth taping that can be really helpful, where he actually puts, I don't know if he wears a CPAP. If he is, actually, he should be using that, the CPAP. Now, if he's not, I would recommend mouth taping and allowing his body to, allowing him to get better at breathing out of his nose, okay? And that actually will help stimulate his parasympathetic nervous system. He'll get better, more rejuvenative sleep. Good quality sleep is really, really critical for weight loss. Huge. Okay. So I know Wendy just put in that he is using a CPAP, so that's good. I would make sure he's getting out and getting regular activity. Okay. That's super important here. It's getting out, moving his body well. And it is possible he could use some thyroid support. So he may have a thyroid that's under functioning or poor T4 to T3, poor T4 to T3 conversion, and that's a function of the liver and the gut. So that may need to be addressed as well. I would definitely look into my article on weight loss hacks on a ketogenic diet. So that is a fantastic article. It goes through that a lot more. Okay, Beverly says, how will keto diet help with eczema? So basically, eczema is an autoimmune condition, inflammation that affects the skin. And so with a ketogenic diet, it's the most powerful way where we're still eating food, not fasting, most powerful non-fasting way to reduce inflammation from a nutrition perspective. So a well-formulated, micronutrient-rich ketogenic diet will reduce inflammation in the body, and that will help reduce the autoimmunity against the skin. Now, from my experience, skin types of issues, all right, when it comes to autoimmunity, they oftentimes take the longest to heal. Sometimes they heal really fast. Oftentimes they take the longest to heal. So I would recommend making sure that, you're really doing things to nourish the gut. That's really, really important with this. Maybe taking probiotics, possibly L-glutamine supplement can be really, really helpful. Collagen protein, in fact, we've got organic bone broth collagen on our store that would be really good for helping nourish the gut, really good for the skin. So I would recommend doing something like that. Doing something like curcumin, okay, can be really helpful. Glutathione boosting agents. In fact, with eczema, I'm a huge fan of we have something called Pro Omega CRP, which has high quality, long chain omega-3 fatty acids, as well as it's got curcumin. And it also has glutathione boosting agents and acetylcysteine and reduced glutathione. That's really good for people with autoimmune conditions, particularly things like eczema. So definitely check that one out as well. But yes, it can be very helpful for a condition like eczema. Now, you also have to be careful of other food sensitivities. You may have a major food sensitivity to something like eggs, right? And if you have a food sensitivity to things like eggs and you're eating a lot of eggs, obviously you're going to have more inflammation. So look out for that as well. And you may want to consider getting food sensitivity testing done or doing pulse testing on different foods. And I have some articles, if you type in food sensitivities on drjockers.com, that can help with that. Okay, let's see. Judy says, what about the high fat when you have no gallbladder? Judy, that is a great question. I actually addressed that in detail on the Q&A session 1 that I did yesterday. So I will just briefly summarize. What you want to do is, number one, you want to eat smaller meals, okay, that's going to be important. You can't do a very large bolus of long chain fatty acids when you don't have a gallbladder, but your body is still producing bile because bile production is done in the liver, not the gallbladder. You also want to do a lot of liver gallbladder stimulating herbs. Lemon and lime in your water can be helpful, and on your food, apple cider vinegar. Dandelion tea is really good. Supplementing with things like milk thistle can be really helpful. Let's see, other things would be, artichoke, parsley. So bitter is good for your liver. So any sort of bitter herb can be really helpful. So the different bitter herbs, ginger is a good one. That's a bitter herb. We talked about parsley, milk thistle. These are all bitter herbs that are really, really good. Dandelion for the liver gallbladder area. Also supplementing with something with betaine HCl, so stomach acid, as well as ox bile and pancreatic enzymes can be really, really helpful for this. And I actually am a fan with people without a liver gallbladder of doing intermittent fasting, really hydrating well in the morning, and then trying to consume your meals in like a 8-hour time span, a 16-8. And in that 8 hours, so it could be like from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., you're consuming 3 small meals, okay? So you consume a meal at 10 a.m., you consume a meal about 1, and then you consume a meal about 5, somewhere in that time frame, okay? And again, smaller meals, healthy fats in there, and you also want to really focus on things like coconut oil, or maybe even using MCT oil, or a product called SCT, short chain triglyceride oil, because those are fats that give us really good quality calories, help stimulate ketone production, and they don't depend on bile for the metabolism. So they're easier on the gallbladder. So again, that's a really popular question, and hopefully people are getting a lot of help with that. Patricia says, does keto help with GERD? So gastroesophageal reflux disease. Definitely can, yeah. So basically, again, GERD is typically going to be related to food sensitivities, issues with the gut, oftentimes bacterial overgrowth in the small intestine, and or an H. pylori infection in the stomach, which is bacteria that blocks our ability to produce enough stomach acid. So typically it can be related to that. It can also be related to a hiatal hernia where the stomach is actually jumped up over the diaphragm. So if it's that case, you definitely want to you can look up a hiatal hernia massage. You can look that up on YouTube and find some videos on that. But basically, you kind of get under your breastbone and you start to kind of gently push down on the left side, and you do that every day to start to reduce that. But in general, gastroesophageal reflux disease is an inflammatory condition that your body does, and so anything that reduces inflammation, ketogenic diet is real powerful for reducing inflammation, will be helpful. Now, with a condition like this, oftentimes these people do really, really well with extra stomach acid support. So taking a betaine HCl can be really, really helpful for these individuals to help basically, like we have one called acid prozyme and another one called Biogest in our store. It can be really helpful for these people to actually reduce the GERD, okay? So actually typically issues with gastroesophageal reflux disease, actually issues with too low stomach acid, not enough stomach acid. So they actually need more. Supplementing with that can be really helpful. Also be careful with food sensitivities. And so a lot of people see really good results because the most common food sensitivities are things we avoid on a ketogenic diet, like grains, particularly gluten, but even rice, corn, also things like nightshade vegetables, potatoes in particular, can be tough. Spicy foods can be tough on this. Another one that's often, that I recommend on a ketogenic diet, but for people with GERD may be good to avoid, would be chocolate, raw cacao. Okay, so people with GERD oftentimes will flare up with that. Sometimes they flare up with coffee too. So you want to find your unique triggers, but following ketogenic diet would be a great strategy to help somebody as an overall foundational strategy, and then kind of figuring out which food triggers are a problem. And also doing intermittent fasting where you might consume just 2 meals a day can be really helpful for people with GERD as well. So try that out. Okay, let's see. Dion says, someone I work with is asking, can you do keto with an impaired kidney function? Great question. Yes, you definitely can. All right. And that's another article that we'll need to write, is keto with kidney issues. And the reason why is that the number one thing that damages the kidneys is high blood sugar. High blood sugar, when our sugar is high and we have a level of insulin resistance where insulin's not taking sugar out of the bloodstream and putting it into the cells, what ends up happening is the sugar binds to proteins and creates something called advanced glycolytic enzymes, AGEs. And these AGEs damage our kidneys in particular. They damage all our vital organs. They damage endothelial lining of the blood vessels, the endothelial or the internal lining of the kidneys. So they damage all the kidney cells. So they're going to affect those things, the liver as well. So these major organs really get affected. The brain gets chewed up by these advanced glycolytic enzymes. I mean, they age us, and that's why they're called AGEs. And so getting your blood sugar more stable and balanced is the best thing you can do from a nutrition standpoint to help improve your kidneys, okay? So that's really key. Also, in general, a ketogenic diet is moderate protein diet. So it's not a high protein diet. Sometimes a high protein diet can be tough on the kidneys. So it's not. It's a moderate protein diet. So that's great. Okay. And then you just got to talk with your doctor about as far as, the amounts of different minerals that you get. But in general, because you have your insulin levels are lower, you're going to be able to handle more electrolytes as well when you are on a ketogenic diet and lifestyle. So there isn't, a significant amount of research on it, but just because we know that advanced glycolytic enzymes and high blood sugar and high insulin are so damaging to the kidneys, based on that knowledge, I would absolutely say a ketogenic diet would be very, very helpful for that. So great question. Okay. Alice says, is keto helping hypoglycemia? Thank you. Yes. So basically, when your blood sugar goes down, if you're a sugar burner and your body is inefficient, not good at utilizing ketones for energy, then you're going to experience hypoglycemia where your body goes into a panic. Okay, you elevate more stress hormones. Oftentimes you can feel stressed, flushed, irritable, angry, depressed, low energy, nausea, hangry. I mean, you could experience a wide range of things, heart palpitations with this. And obviously that's a serious condition with hypoglycemia. I mean, cells are dying because they're not getting the fuel they need. And so a ketogenic diet, though, teaches the body to use two different fuel sources. Your body's always going to be able to use glucose as long as there's some level of insulin to get it in, okay, which unless you're fasting, there's always going to be some level of insulin. And then basically a ketogenic diet teaches your body to also run off of ketones. So you have that metabolic flexibility. When sugar goes down, your body produces more of these ketones. It burns its own body fat or dietary fat that we're consuming and produces ketones that we can then use for energy. So your blood sugar goes down, but you actually feel really good because your body is kicked into ketosis and it's utilizing these ketones for energy. So you actually feel really, really good and mentally stable. And that's the cool thing about it, because we know in general, high blood sugar is going to make you feel crappy. If it's high for a long period of time. We talked about the advanced glycolytic enzymes. Low blood sugar, if you have ketones up, feels great because you have less oxidative stress in your body, less inflammation. But if you don't have the ketones up, then you feel awful because you're depending on that sugar to fuel the cells. So it's the best thing for hypoglycemia, doing it appropriately. And that will also be another article that we're working on that we're going to be writing, is on keto for hypoglycemia. Okay. So check that out in a few weeks when we have that up. All right. Let's see other questions. Almost finished here. I'll probably take one or two more. Let's see. Okay. Diana says, a long question. Hubby and I are following a modified whole food plant-based diet currently to lower glucose and heal insulin receptors. This diet is not keto. It is working, but our blood proteins are now just into the low category on CBC Chem panel. All other numbers normal and overall much improved. We also are using intermittent fasting and doing all our meals between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. Weight is dropping. We're feeling better, getting more exercise, etc. Question is, can changing to keto help with reducing more inflammation and also adrenal fatigue any better than what we are doing now? P.S. I find that apple cider vinegar helps a lot with digesting fats for those with gallbladder issues. So Diana, great question. And I agree, apple cider vinegar can really, really help as far as just helping start to emulsify the fats. In fact, I put it on food which helps on meat, on vegetables, things like that. And actually starts the digestion process before it even gets in your body. So that's also a really good idea. And then drinking water with a little bit of apple cider vinegar. In fact, I have a little water with a little bit of stevia, apple cider vinegar, and ginger here, okay? And that's really good. And I drink this typically all morning, and it's awesome. So, but let's get back to her main question here. Let's see. So she's doing the whole foods plant-based diet. So that's definitely going to be a higher carb, low-fat diet right there, okay? And absolutely doing something like that, you definitely can see results. Micronutrient-rich diet will help change over your microbiome. So a lot of people do feel good on this. And she's also doing intermittent fasting, a 16-8, it looks like, 8-hour eating window. So that's great as well. I'm glad you're dropping weight, you're getting more exercise. So a lot of healthy lifestyle habits. Really happy to hear that. And so she's asking about inflammation with keto. You know, I honestly, there is no better nutrition plan than keto to help reduce inflammation as long as you're eating food. And the reason why, again, is insulin suppression. Insulin is an anabolic hormone which will promote weight gain, basically, and then also promote inflammation. And so when you suppress that with a ketogenic style diet, and it could be a plant-based ketogenic diet, plant-based whole food ketogenic diet. So the only difference between a whole food plant-based diet that's not keto and a whole food plant-based diet that is keto is the fact that on a plant-based diet that's not keto, you are eating grains, you're eating higher carbohydrate foods, fruits, things like that. So you could do avocados, olives, nuts and seeds, and lots of vegetables, and be in ketosis, right? Can be a really helpful diet. So absolutely, will it help? Definitely reduce inflammation, and also can definitely help adrenal fatigue because it's reducing inflammation in the body. And inflammation is basically what kind of scrambles the message between the brain, the hypothalamus and pituitary gland in particular in the brain, and its communication to the adrenals. So when we say adrenal fatigue, it's not that the adrenals aren't able to produce stress hormone. It's that they're not getting the right message. They're not getting the message from the brain to produce it. And so basically with this, we help to improve that communication process because we downregulate the inflammation. Now, obviously, other lifestyle factors like make sure you're getting good sleep, things like that, are also extremely important for adrenal fatigue. So definitely want to make sure you address that. But yes, it can be very, very powerful to help you kind of get to the next level with it. So I do recommend that. All right. Let's see. Last question here. Corey says, can you clarify how the natural sugar, such as stevia, can spike insulin? Corey, this is a great question. And actually, stevia does not spike insulin. For some individuals, it causes a slight rise in insulin, just a little bump, but it's definitely not going to spike insulin. So I'm not sure who told you that, unless you have an allergy to it or sensitivity to it, like something like stevia is in the ragweed family. So if you have a sensitivity or a allergy to that, then it could spike insulin because your stress hormones are going to go up. Oftentimes insulin will go up. Now you may get a little bit of a little bump, okay? But in general, you're going to keep your insulin down. For some individuals, they're more sensitive than others. So everybody's a little bit different and unique. For some individuals, like for me, I can handle stevia and it's great. I try not to do excessive amounts of it, but I feel really good with it. For other people, they can't handle it. It bumps them out of ketosis, and they never get the therapeutic level of ketosis that they want. So everybody's a little bit different and unique. And there's no cookie cutter ketogenic diet. It really needs to be a personalized approach. And the way that it's personalized is you listen to your body and the responses your body's giving you, and you test things and see how your body responds. And sometimes working with a health coach, can really help with that. So great question there, Corey. Guys, it's been a really, really great broadcast here. We've really dove into a lot of great topics. We went through keto for fatty liver, keto for no gallbladder, keto for menopause, keto for diabetes, keto for GERD, gastroesophageal reflux disease. We talked about hypoglycemia. We talked about a lot of different topics here. And so I would recommend Guys, if you are available this weekend, tune into the Keto Edge Summit, the Encore weekend. You can listen to any interview that's there, and all the interviews will be live for 48 hours that you can listen to, and also consider purchasing the entire summit. It's at a very, very low price right now. And for some of you guys, you're not able to do it. That's fine. That's why we offer it for free. For others of you, you really want this information. You want to dive deep. And so I think this would be a great investment for you. And we've got a ton of bonuses that are included in there that will really, really, really help all of you guys on your keto journey. So consider that. I'll put up a link later. And I just really appreciate all of your support, guys, with Keto Edge Summit. Really hope this information has been valuable for you guys and these Q&As. And if it has, definitely give me a like and a share. If you're getting a lot of value out of these, give me a like, share it on your page. That lets me know that you want me to do more of these. And if I'm seeing that I'm definitely going to be jumping on more. I would love to be able to schedule in and do one of these every single week with you guys and just really help guide you guys to accomplishing your health goals and troubleshoot challenges you may have. So with that said, guys, God bless everybody. Hope all of you guys have an awesome weekend, and be sure to schedule some time to listen to a few of the interviews, or at least one of the interviews, for our Keto Edge Summit Encore weekend. Be blessed. Bye-bye.